No, man, but you got to keep going. What am I going to do, quit? That's not an option. You got to keep on keeping on. Life's a garden, dig it? You make it work for you. You never give up, man. That's my philosophy.
Hey gardeners, hope you're all having a great week out in your gardens. I'm just out here checking out one of my favorite plants to grow but not eat. As I talk about a lot on this show, I love growing eggplants. I love their flowers. They're just so cool and interesting. The plants, the leaves are just so nice, and they're like really like velvety soft. Just lots of really cool characteristics. And of course, they create and make these just amazingly cool looking fruits. Even though I'm not a big fan of them, I do give them away to my friends. We are trying a couple of new different ones this year. I've got this one here and another one right back there as well too. This one's more like a traditional purple like eggplant. And these other two, man, they look really kind of cool. They're really unique. I'm really excited about checking out these ones here I got from Baker Creek this last year. So, right on. Can't wait to see those fruit coming up here soon. Like I said, we got flowers forming on one. These will be growing up here real soon. All right, everybody. We got some great guests for you today on the show. All right, let's get growing. All right, all my passionate plant people and garden enthusiasts. It's Saturday. It's time for the Let's Get Growing show here on the Urban Gardener channel. I'm Enoch. I'm your host today. We've got a great show for you today. We're always excited to welcome back our very first guest of the show back again to catch up with what she's been growing on this year in the garden and some travels as well. We've got Wendi Phan from Wendiland joining with us here today a little bit later on in the show. And then here in just a few minutes as well too, we've got Grant from the Gardening Grant joining with us here as well too for our Are You Following Me segment. So you want to stay tuned for these really great guests coming up here in just a few minutes as well too. Here you want to click that like button, like I always say, hit the thumbs up right here at the top of the show, as well as subscribe, hit the bell notification, be notified of all of our upcoming videos and live streams, as well as share with all of your friends out there. Let them know about the Let's Get Growing show here every Saturday and Sunday, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 2 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. British summertime for all of you folks over there as well too. Big, huge shout out to all of you who are watching us on the replay. Thank you so much for joining us on your time. It's always great to have you here with us. I want to know about what you got growing on this year. How's the garden growing this year? How's it going? Let me know. Drop into the comment section down below there. Let me know where you're growing from. Let me know what you got growing on and how things are growing this year. I'd love to hear from all of you out there, even if you just want to drop by and say hi. And if you do have any questions or comments for us, if you're joining with us live here today, definitely drop into the chat there. Let us know you're here. Let us know what you got growing on as well too. And another thing too, if you got a small channel of your own, definitely let us know in the chat as well too, so we can get you a good shout out with a link and everything there too as well. So if you do have any questions for us though, you're here joining us live, put those in big bold capital letters for me if you can. That way I can see your questions from the regular conversation, and I can try to make sure I get those asked as well too, or answered if you're asking me. But I love it when you guys ask questions of our guests as well too. So we'll try to make sure to drop those in during the conversation, because this is your show too as well. You know, this is that's what makes these live streams really great, is the fact that you know, we can have these fun guests here and talk all about what they've got growing on, but you're here as well too to be a part of the conversation. So definitely drop in those questions. with our guests here in just a little bit here on the show. So thank you all so much for being here. Definitely also follow all those links in the description as well to all of our guests, and go and check out their channels. Go check out their posts or something like that as well too, and go leave them a comment. Let them know that you saw them here on the Let's Get Growing show. I really, really appreciate it when you guys do that. It's really awesome. A great way to support the show and to support our guests who are taking their time to be here with us today. So again, right on. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. This last week, I released a video. Like I said, you want to make sure you hit that bell notification, like I said, so you can be notified of when our videos come out and all of that. I put out a new garden journal this last, or actually just yesterday. I just put it out yesterday, and we had fun with the harvesting basically what is our first harvest of the summer season, and the longest growing plant in our garden as well too, because we planted these all the way back in October of last year. So we finally got around to harvesting out all of our garlic, and yeah, so go check out our garden journal there, and check out how our garlic harvest turned out for this season. And yeah, always one of my favorite things to grow. I love growing garlic. It was one of those ones that I always talk about, was like one of those first really cool learning curves in gardening, where you really kind of, I don't know, when I first started gardening, it was just like, oh, go buy a bunch of seeds, go buy all these seeds, get all this stuff, just start planting things. Springtime comes around, to start planting anything and everything. So at first it took me a little while to catch on to seasonality and all of that sort of stuff when it came to things, because when I first started growing garlic, I was sticking the garlic cloves, because I knew as much that you needed to grow them from the cloves, but I was sticking seed cell trays with the cloves right along with all of my other seeds. Oh my gosh, I hope you all can still hear me. I was worried that this would happen. Okay, are we okay? Hopefully that's it. Let's see here. Okay, we're back. Again, sorry about that. I knew, I had an idea. I was going to warn everybody right there at the beginning. I had an idea that might happen. I had to restart everything right before the show. So I was like, watch it. Something's going to happen. We're going to get cut off and everything as well. So hopefully everything's okay. Back to normal. And oh my. But anyways, yeah, I was back to the garlic. Anyways, I was just saying that it was really fun. The learning curve on one of these, is that I would grow them in these little cell trays with the little cloves, and they would grow up, and I wouldn't get any garlic bulbs. It would be few months later, I'm harvesting some other things or pulling tomatoes off of the plants and thinking, oh, well, let's check on this garlic, and it never got to growing anywhere or doing anything. Of course, because I was growing it out of season, and finally I looked up and learned about planting it in the fall, and then got some of my first garlic crops out in the fall, and harvested my first garlic in those first seasons there. And really, it just became one of my first real favorite things. It was like one of those when you really know you learned something for sure. And I feel like garlic is one of those ones that was really fun to figure out. And now, again, just look forward to it every single year, watching it grow throughout the winter season even. And yeah. But anyways, go back and check out that garden journal, and check out our garlic grow that we got growing this year. As well as we got lots of other things coming up as well too. I've got more videos on our ultimate pepper growing guide coming out as well too. The peppers are really doing well out there, so I got to get you guys all caught up with where we're at on those. I got a couple of them we should hopefully have out this next week, and another garden journal that I've already started filming too, because I've got more stuff I want to show you. And as well, I think I want to do like a cool summer garden tour coming up here as well in the next couple of weeks. We'll do that sort of video as well. And take you around and show you how everything's growing. We're a little behind on a lot of stuff, and as I've mentioned in previous shows and garden journals as well too, here as we're getting the season started, that I'm not really trying to pump up my garden as I normally would in seasons past and everything. We're just kind of taking a slow approach at some things and growing some of my more essentials and things I really I've narrowed down to just a few things, plus a couple of extras, of course. But but I wanted to kind of ramp it up as we're changing some things around. So we're going to be doing some new stuff and adding some other garden spaces, some more raised beds, especially out in the front, and doing that sort of stuff. So we got a lot of these other projects going on as well too, other things in the background as far as channels and things that I'm doing and all that sort of stuff. So so got a lot of projects going on, so I didn't really want to overwhelm myself with too much of the garden, but you know, we got plenty growing on out there. And I was out just looking around earlier before the show and was like, wow, things look really nice out here. Actually, you know, they're not quite where I would want them to be yet. We're a little behind, but the plants are looking great, everything's looking nice. And so I was really thinking about doing a little summer tour, you know, video, so we can go and look around and check out everything, and get that out here real soon too, because it'd be really nice to go and take a look at some things. The neighbor finished up their project with the fence as well too, so we can start working on and looking at what we've got along our side front alleyway with a lot of stuff as well too that I want to get caught up on, because that whole fence project kind of put me behind, because I had to kind of let him do the work and get everything done with his fence and all that sort of stuff, so that we could then get our stuff going. So there's a couple of spaces I didn't even get to planting out, but then again, going along with what I was saying, I don't really want to be doing too much, so I kind of said, okay, it's all right. Didn't really plant out a couple of our raised beds on the side alleyway like I wanted to, but again, that's okay. We'll get everything all set up, and it's going to look really nice, really, really nice. I think he did a pretty good job with the fence. It's got a nice look to it, you know, for a nice do-it-yourself, you know, fence job for someone who doesn't do fencing. I think he did a pretty dang good job, and it's going to be looking nice as well too. So that'll be kind of fun to look at and check out those spaces too when we get to looking at the garden and all of that. All right, let's see here. Let's catch up with everybody here real quick before we get moving on here. We got our guest in the background, so we're gonna want to get to them real soon, but I want to say hi to a few of you who are all in here on the chat with us. And of course, we got to say hi to our good friend and facilitator Jay Dixon, joining with us from Huron County, Midwestern Ontario, in the lee of Lake Huron. Joining with us, our facilitator. Thank you so much, Jay, for being here. Thank you for all of the links and keeping the conversation rolling and all of that sort of stuff, and being a facilitator for the show. So thank you. And as well, thank you to Adam, our other moderator, my good friend, joining us from right up the road here in Central Point, Oregon. Good to see you, Adam. Thanks for being here. I see Mobius in there. We are here. Here we are. Awesome, awesome. Joining us from the future as well, nice and bright and early in the morning, is our good friend Rick, joining us from Sydney, Australia, 4 a.m. in the morning. Rick's a nice up and Adam early guy, so it's awesome to have him joining with us all the way again too from the future in the land down under. Thanks, Rick, for being here. Great to have you. And I saw MKP in the chat early before the show saying, all righty, let's go. We got great guests today. We want to get on with this conversation. So yeah, thanks for dropping in there. See, we got David from Bowtie Life joining us from the Gulf Coast of Florida. Awesome to have you here, David. Thank you so much. And yeah, definitely look forward to tomorrow. We'll have David, Bowtie Life in the Garden, for our In the Garden segment. So look forward to that tomorrow as well for the Sunday edition of the show. I see Dusty Flats was in there. Hi, everyone. Awesome. Excellent. Yeah, I see the handles look like they're back to normal again. So YouTube must have been kind of glitching on that, or that was something they tried and maybe they didn't get some good feedback and they switched it out or whatever. Because I remember last week it looked like everybody had their channel handles, their @handles for their names on there as well too. So it's kind of good to see that's all back to normal. Right on here. Let's see here. Who else do we got in the chat here? I'm kind of behind on this. Let's see. Oh, we got Ultimate Gardener Emmanuel right here joining with us as well. Thank you. Right on. And looks like he says he's got Gardner Scott coming with him up on his show as well too. Coming up, Gardner Scott's always our good friend and coming up as well too on our show. He's with us every month for a great Q&A. So that would be great to see him over on your channel as well too. Let's see here. I see South Florida Sunshine Tropicals in here as well too. Right on. Great to see you. Right on. Big West. I finally have raspberries in my first raised bed I ever made. Awesome, man. That is great. And raspberries too. Excellent. I love raspberries. I got to get some more growing again too soon myself. Nice. All right, Jersey Girl. Great to see you. Thanks for dropping in here. All right, excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right. Oh, looks like we've got Barb here as well. Thanks for joining you. I'm here to see Grant. Excellent. That's awesome. Thanks for dropping in. Thanks for coming to see Grant here. We'll have him on here in just a moment. We got Anna Jones joining us from the UK. Awesome to see you, Anna. Thanks for being here. All right, everybody. Excellent. Thank you all for being here. It's great to have you here. Like I said, we've got some great guests here on the show, and yeah, lots and lots going on today. Thank you all for being here. I really appreciate it, and it's great to see all of you. We'll be right back in just one moment for our Are You Following Me?
Hi, my name is Charles Malky, biologist and plant expert with Ivory Organics, where we grow cool plants, and author, Saving the World with the Home Garden. Ivory Organic 3-in-1 Plant Guard has 7 natural oils that protect your plants, not just from the summer heat as well as winter cold, but also protects your plants from damaging insects and rodents. The oils in the product include castor, cinnamon, clove, garlic, peppermint, rosemary, and spearmint. These oils are natural insect and rodent repellent oils, which are encapsulated by the base powder, offering your plants months of protection at a time. 1 application per year will suffice for protection against damaging summer sunburn and winter sun scald, but if the target is pests, application as much as 2 to 3 times a year may be necessary.
Hi everyone, this is Sarah from Sarah's Seed Shop, here with this week's trivia question. How tall is the tallest sunflower on record? A, 25 feet 6 inches, B, 29 feet 8 inches, C, 30 feet 1 inch, or D, 32 feet 3 inches. We'll be back with the answer a little later in the show.
All right. Do you know the answer to Sarah's trivia question? Any one of those would be a really tall sunflower. That would be something to be standing next to for sure. Just looking straight up. That's a lot. Those would be some tall sunflowers. But put your guess there in the chat, as well as if you're watching on the replay too. Drop your guess in before we get to the answer here a little bit later in the show. And let's see if you're all right with all of your guesses there for Sarah's trivia question there. Definitely go and check out Sarah's seed shop at sarahseedshop.com. All right, everybody. And like I said, we got some great guests here today. And now it's time for Are You Following Me?
Are you following me? Are you following me, dude?
All right. And for today's Are You Following Me, we've got joining with us Grant from the Gardening Grant. How are you doing, Grant?
Good
Great to have you here.
afternoon, Enoch. Thanks for having me. It's very exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. Exciting to have you, man. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, it's weird to be inside on a beautiful day, but
Yes.
it's there's a lot of noises outside on a Saturday in the garden out with my neighbors. There's lots of lawn mowing and leaf
Oh yeah.
blowing and kids playing, and so I'm back in the safety of indoors, so we can have some good sound quality at least.
Right. Right, exactly. And yeah, I know I love the weekends in the garden. Like you said, I try definitely not to be filming or doing anything for my Saturdays and Sundays when it comes to that, because it's the same situation. It's just all sorts of noises, neighborhood noises, because that's when everybody's really active and doing things. So I like to be in my garden when it's a little quieter, and or if I'm doing any filming or anything like that, I've got to make sure we don't got all that extra noise. So
I
it's
think
all that's why it's good to do this show on the weekends.
Oh, well, it's kind of hard. I got to take the time when I can. I have a full-time 9 to 5. So I have little, slivers of time where I can get in there. And then I have a 6-year-old at home as well. And so it's when I can get out there and film, sometimes there's background noise and sometimes there's not, but I guess it's all a garden ambiance, right? So
Mhm.
it's all part of the experience, but it is tough to get a quiet moment of peace in the garden, I have to say, when you live in the city, but I take
Yeah.
what I can get, honestly.
Yeah, yeah. And to tell you the truth though, I mean, sometimes you just can't help it. I've got a lot, we got whether it's airplanes or some motorcycle driving by or something like that. I think more so it's in my mind when I'm filming than it is the actual how it sounds on the video itself. I mean,
Mhm.
normal neighborhood ambiance, I suppose, isn't that bad when you're doing kind of those types of videos. But yeah, when a motorcycle comes ripping by or something like that, you just ruined my take.
Well, my husband rides a motorcycle, so I
Oh,
unfortunately I have that noise sometimes in
yeah.
the background, even in the garage. So, but I can usually time these things well. And the thing about short form content, it's a little bit easier than what you do because I can bank something out pretty quickly. And sometimes I absolutely need to, because otherwise there's no moment of peace. So whenever I get a sliver of semi-quiet, I get out there and try to take a quick video.
Exactly. Yeah. Let's see. David says, I live between 2 airports, 4 air bases, near 2 bombing training ranges, and a heliport.
I shouldn't
Yeah,
complain.
I can't have it. I can't. Yeah, exactly. Who's complaining now, right? Jeez.
Yeah, mine sounds
But
peaceful relative to that. So I really don't mind. I really don't mind it, but I do realize that sometimes when I'm listening to when I'm scrolling through social media or I'm watching YouTube, the background noise can be very distracting. But it's and I did invest in a microphone for when I'm doing some clips and I'm a little bit further away. But
yeah.
yeah, it's any moment of peace in the garden is a moment I will take gladly.
Yeah, for sure. Not that you need too much peace, I guess, in the garden as well, too. I've been watching your content, and I'll tell you what, man, you got some fun stuff. I really love what you do over there. Let's talk a little bit about yourself and your channel, the Gardening Grant. Tell us a little bit more about Grant.
Anyone who's followed me for a length of time maybe
Yeah,
knows this already, maybe doesn't.
yeah.
But I came into this really by accident. We bought a house during COVID, right at the beginning
Right.
of it. Actually, moved from a
Okay.
condo to a house, and about 150. Our lot's about 150 feet by 26 feet. Totally overgrown, absolutely overgrown.
Yeah.
Tons of invasive plants, like just looked awful. And so I really needed to get my hands dirty, literally and
Hmm.
figuratively, and try to fix it up. And it was a slow process, but I was engaged because it's your own home. Like I was invested into, at least at the beginning of this garden journey, aesthetic appeal. I wanted it to look nice when I walked up at the end, like, after work or pick my kid up from school. And that was kind of driving me. And I just kind of went down the rabbit hole, honestly. And I was learning a lot. I come from a gardening family, but did not
Okay.
pick it up myself.
Oh,
Before we
yeah.
got this house, like I really wasn't interested in it at all.
Yeah.
And then when we got the house, I had a vested interest in learning. So
Ownership kind of does that a little, huh?
It does. It really
Yeah.
does. You realize that there's a tremendous amount that you do not know. And like I felt like I was starting at zero, even though I had people in my life who knew a little bit. I'm the kind of person that needs to learn by doing. So I just kind of got in there and started learning. And then the social media piece picked up because I'd heard from another friend who gardens, it was important to document my garden, document the progress.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, great. I had an old phone that had no storage in it. And I thought, I can't. So I kept deleting stuff to make room for my garden pictures. And I had this bright idea. My friend had gotten on TikTok. And she said, why don't you just post it on TikTok, and then, you can just post your garden videos, and then you'll have them for posterity and you can go back to them. And I thought, okay. Yeah. I literally started posting because I didn't have storage space on my phone. And then I started realizing the algorithm was picking up that I was interested in gardening. So I was getting more gardening content and I was learning a lot. And I started just getting deeper and deeper into posting content of what I was doing as a beginner gardener, and my steps, my failures, my foibles, my success, what I was growing, what mistakes I made. And then it just, the account started growing and growing and growing. And then I eventually moved over to Instagram as well, and had this whole new audience. And now it's just kind of exploded, and it's become this second job I have, where I have. It's really it's such an incredible community. The followers that follow my account and that interact with the videos, and I interact with their videos. It's a really the thing about, and you know this already, the thing about the gardening community is they're incredibly supportive. People cheer you on. People want to see you succeed. And I think that's been just such a bright light in my life, honestly. And that's how I've landed here in this space of, going on TV shows and talking about gardening and live streaming and people listening to what I have to say. And it comes with a lot of responsibility, but I enjoy it. Now I'm off the rails. Now I'm in deep. Now you can't stop me now. But that was the origin story.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. It's really great. And again, too, another great example of how, even though we don't really think that gardening is something for us, sometimes, something comes along and next thing you know, we're in it, and then in it deep too, when it comes down to it. I like what you were saying about how, for one, you didn't really having a gardening family and having that around you to, not necessarily having it a part of your life until you get a house. But then you get this house and you're like, wait a minute, this backyard looks terrible, or this yard looks terrible. Let me fix it up. I want to make it look nice with your first original intention, right? So that's a great, to kind of show, get this intention. We're doing something, to just kind of improve the space. And then once we start getting our hands in the dirt, once we start planting those first few plants and seeing some of those first little successes, then it just seems to be the story with most gardeners. Boom. Now I'm a gardener. Now I got to do all of this other stuff and all of those sort of things. And I just love hearing those sort of stories, and especially too, which is really common with a lot of the guests we have here on the show too, is coming out of the COVID era as well too. People who have, found themselves, not just gardening though, but also creating and making gardening content, and people paying attention, like you said, because that's a weird turn, isn't it? Really, though. I mean, I thought it was kind of fun myself when I started my channel, in kind of, and I intentionally wanted to show things and make a channel, a YouTube channel I started with. So there was intention behind that as far as making a channel, but yet it was, it wasn't something I really knew would go anywhere, that anybody would ever pay attention to anything I was doing though. You know what I mean?
You don't know until you start doing it, and what you're saying resonates with people, especially the authenticity of gardening is that there are so many failures, and there's so much learning, and being authentic with that on social media to me was very important, because I was seeing a lot of content that was, bing, bang, boom. Here's my beautiful garden that is not one plant out of place. And I thought, whoa, that's not how I see things. That's not my experience. And I realized how disheartening that messaging could be for someone who is just starting out and they're not seeing success right away, because you do not see success right away often. And unless you have a landscaping crew and, people who are professionally maintaining the garden, but if you're doing it yourself, you are going to fail a lot. And so putting that out there was really important for me to show that this is the natural evolution of someone who is starting a garden, someone who is dipping their toes into gardening, is that you are going to have a lot of trials. You're going to have a lot of errors. You are going to have a tremendous amount of learning. And eventually you are going to grow plants. Eventually you are going to have the garden of your dreams, but it's not going to be overnight. And that's part of the beauty of it.
Yeah. That's great. So let's see here. Let's talk a little bit about your garden. How's it growing this year? How's the garden doing?
So we've had an interesting season in Toronto.
Yeah.
The Northeast has had a very chilly spring, and most people were upset about that. I, however, was not, because I was growing a lot of cool season annuals. And I was also starting a lot of things from seed. And so the gradual increase in temperature was really good as I was hardening things off. But it was also good for certain cut flowers like my ranunculus and sweet peas that really love that cool temperature. So I was quite fine with the cool temperatures. However, my husband, who does a lot of our vegetable gardening, was chomping at the bit to get out there, and the tomatoes were getting a little leggy. The peppers were getting a little sickly looking. Yeah. And so, but once it turns, so Toronto, we joke a lot about weather in Toronto, in Canada in general, but specifically in Toronto area, that we have fake spring, and then we have second winter, and then we have real spring, which lasts about 4 days. And then we go into summer, and it is such a wild swing that one of the things I've learned about gardening is that you just got to go with the flow. You got to have your frost cloth. You have to have your protection out. You have to have a little greenhouse. You got to have a low tunnel. Like, all these things are really, really important. And you also have to have plants that are resilient, because they get battered and bruised through a lot of the wild weather that we get up here. And so that's part of what I focus on planting, is a lot of native plants that can handle the rough and tumble weather that we get in Canada. And that's kind of fun, because there's some that don't make it. There's a lot of victims in my garden. And there have been a lot, but there are fewer every year, because I'm getting better at knowing what's going to do well and what's not. But with the climate changing as fast as it has, and with weather patterns being so wild and extreme weather events happening, sometimes you just don't know. Sometimes one thing that has a great year one season is going to have a horrendous year the next, and you just got to kind of roll with the punches. Yeah,
it's just so up in the air anymore. I mean, my first several years of gardening and growing, I could grow all these great tomatoes, was doing all this sort of stuff, and it just seemed like there was you develop a pattern, follow the guide for your local area, that sort of stuff, and everything seemed to grow well. And then all of a sudden, 8-9 years ago, things just from year to year just seem to keep gradually getting hotter, for one, but the way that affects the transition from spring to summer, it just varies so much every single year. You just never know what to do.
No.
Like 2-3 seasons ago, I went with a strategy. Let's get the tomatoes out just a little bit earlier, because it's warming up earlier. And then I get a frost a couple of days after my last frost date that year, and it's like, what's going on? Wait a minute. And then the next year it's back to hot again early, and that sort of thing. So you just never know what to do there from year to year because of weather. So it presents a fun challenge for us, because again, we can try to follow as many guides to the weather and all of that sort of stuff, and when we time out planting things from year to year, but it just changes in keeps us on our toes when it comes down to it.
It really does, but I really like to live on the garden edge. Like I like to push the envelope, and I like to put things out. Like I was planting sweet peas this year in March, and ranunculus I had out in March, and I posted online, and so many people would say, "What are you doing? You're crazy. You're crazy." But I learned enough at that point to know that a lot of those plants can handle frost. Some of them can even handle snow, and they'll be back, and they come back, and they bounce back stronger than ever. Because the important part is getting them to establish the root system. The foliage dying back and wilting a little bit, it'll come back. But people have this kind of prescribed way that they plant, or when they plant, Mother's Day weekend or the long weekend in May. And that is like, they can't break out of that. But once you kind of open yourself up to all this other learning that is happening all over, whether it's places like, Mount Cuba Center that's experimenting with different kind of nativars and cultivars to someone who is just a cut flower farmer who's, pushing the envelope of when you can put things out or what you can start in the fall. Then you open up all these opportunities to have things. I have things blooming from March all the way to November in my garden in Canada, no problem. And our crop season for vegetables is very long because we have a low tunnel, we have a little greenhouse, and we have a small property. But I think those things and putting yourself out there to take those risks is really where you get the huge reward and you get all the great learning. And sometimes it doesn't work out, but that's okay. Like they're plants. I start everything from seed. I'm not investing hundreds of thousands of dollars into my plants. I'm just doing them myself. So if I lose half, I still got 600. So fine. I'm not worried. I have a lot of spares, and
that's right. So make sure you got the spares.
Always got a spare tire.
And it comes back to, again, to, like you said, in a good experienced gardeners always passing this bit of knowledge down to new gardeners is don't be afraid of killing some plants. That's just really, as it comes down to it, you're going to go through plenty in your learning experience, and trying to keep everything alive will just stress you out when it comes down to it. Allow the learning process to happen, and send them off to the compost bin and get them working in your garden in another way, that sort of thing. So when it comes down to it. So again, you said that it's your husband that does more of the vegetable gardening in your gardens. What is one of your favorite plants that he's growing out there in the vegetable garden that
he grows? A tremendous amount of tomatoes, probably 7 different varieties, peppers, like lots of different peppers, lots of salad greens. He's growing some arugula. He's growing a whole bunch of carrots this year. All of our herbs are out there. We have rhubarb actually as well. A rhubarb plant that was here when we got here. It was the one thing that we kept. And so the tomatoes are a little bit of a problem for me because he grows. We're a family of 3. And he grows tomatoes for a family of 17. And so we had all these tomatoes. We have like a like a bonus fridge in the basement. And then we have our main fridge and freezer. Our freezers were clogged with tomatoes. And did we eat any of them? No, we didn't. And so he's now cleared them out. And I said, because he was going to make sauce. He's a very good cook. So we were going to make all these tomato sauces. So we kind of narrowed in on the varieties that we really like to eat, that we eat often. And that's the one we're going to focus on. But he also, he wanted a fig tree. I saw one on sale yesterday. I went and picked him up a fig tree. It was $20 and it was pretty big. And I thought, we'll try things like that. But I'm excited about anything he grows. Like we have I do cut flowers and I do all our native flower beds, all the shrubs, all the trees. That's me. And then all of the crops, all the edible crops are him. And we learn a lot from each other. But we're kind of started at the same time, but kind of veered off into slightly different areas. So we're picking up learning from each other, but it's good produce. Like we've had some beautiful peppers. The cucumber, we had a rough cucumber season last year. So this year, I think it's looking a little bit more promising. We got some squash borers that like to do some damage. And but we know better now. Now we know what we're looking for. And we don't have a lot of animal pressure from rabbits and deer because we're in the city. So we really are only contending with some insects and a couple of, wild squirrels. But, generally speaking, we don't lose a lot. to critter damage, so which is pretty good. So we end up having a lot, and we have a lot to share. But excited for everything. I love fresh produce. So, but the tomatoes are probably the thing that we eat the most.
Yeah, I love that. Clearing out last year's tomatoes so you can stock up on this year's tomatoes.
Yeah,
and then wonder whether or not you're gonna. It's great.
We have a new rule.
I get it though. It's just and tomatoes are just one of those ones that if you're a gardener, it's a natural one. They're people love them. There's so many different varieties and different tomatoes to try and all that sort of stuff. Same with the peppers, like you said, he's growing tons and tons of peppers. What's your favorite cut flower, native flower that you grow?
Oh man, I have a lot.
I'm trying to pin you. It's hard.
I have a lot. So my favorite cut flowers are probably ranunculus and dahlias. They are such a great heavy producer. So the ranunculus is the early season. I'll get those until about end of June, and I've kind of perfected the timing on those because they're a little bit tricky in the Northeast. And then dahlias, once they start, you're off to the races. And one of the things that I love about cut flowers and native plants is that a lot of people only want to plant, they plant non-native plants because they've heard of them or they're aesthetically, beautiful or something they've seen. But the one thing I've learned is ever since I've kind of focused on building, I'm trying to hit 70, 60 to 80% native plants, is that my insect pressure on my cut flowers is basically zero because I've attracted all of these beneficial insects and natural predators. So the earwigs are being taken care of by the cardinals and the sparrows and the other birds and the hoverflies and the parasitic wasps. And so I love that kind of confluence of the vegetables and the cut flowers and the native plants because they really have created this amazing dynamic growing condition that we have where we have very little insect pressure. So I love all the native plants that attract a lot of those beneficial insects. So I grow a lot of milkweed. I love butterfly milkweed. And I love cardinal flower. It's such a beautiful lobelia, native lobelia species. I grow white elderberry as a shrub is such a good performing grower. And serviceberry up here is just top tier. I planted a couple Eastern redbuds that have some of the most incredible blooms in usually around kind of May. But I can't, I'm insatiable. I have probably planted upwards of 120 different native plant species because that's not ecologically smart necessarily, but the reason I did it was because I share so much that I want to learn as much as I can. So I like to be able to have these plants on offer to show people what they look like and how to grow them because I don't want to pretend. I don't want to be a grifter. I want to show you I'm growing this myself. I'm not showing you a picture. I'm growing it in here and here's what it looks like. Here's how it grows. Here's how tall it gets in my garden. Here's, the problems with it. Here's the benefits. And so I grow a lot, but then I can also tell people, how to grow it. If I did it all myself, I'd probably select 5 or 6 native plants that are, host plants for a lot of beneficial insects and focus on those and then get all my other fun in the cut flower garden. But I can't stop. More is more.
I love it. I love it. It's great. It's great. And again, too, really great point on, IPM, integrated pest management, is natives. Natives are a great way to really start incorporating some good IPM in your garden because, again, like you said, that's your real way of handling a lot of pest pressure and things that you have when it comes to those issues in your garden is bringing in their predators and native plants are the best way to do that. And incorporating those throughout your garden spaces and doing that sort of stuff can really, really help, like you said, in what you're seeing in what you're able to harvest for you, cut flowers for your husband, all of the fruit and veggies and things you're getting in your garden, and so beneficial. So that's such a great point, and I love it. I love it. Anything before we let you go here, Grant, today? Anything coming up on your channel? You got any projects or anything that you're working on? Or
always a project. There's always a project. Yeah, I'm trying to launch some merch that I'm trying to raise some money for some environmental foundations that focus on preservation of native insects, and so trying to launch a couple of those things, and then trying to build out my YouTube channel. Honestly, it's YouTube is a real different beast than Instagram and TikTok and the other short form medias. And I did one, and it took me about 3 hours, and it was probably 6 minutes long, and I could not believe, and it was not good. And so my goal is to take some B-roll this year and to put some good quality content, and then trying to work on a book. Trying to work on a book for like beginner gardeners. Trying to get that on the off season. As you probably know, the off season is a time when we build, we do those kind of things, and just trying to share the word. I'm trying to work on my Master Gardener's course. I have to do my university courses to finish up my Master Gardener certification. So I have a lot to keep me busy, and then trying to keep the social media going to stay connected to folks who are growing and looking for some advice or looking for some inspiration, someone to cheer them on.
Yeah, that's awesome. Excellent. And again, too, like I mentioned, I've been loving your content. I think that's really great. Your short form reels and TikTok type stuff is just really, really awesome. You put together really great ones. They're fun. They're entertaining. So everyone out there, if you're watching right now, you're definitely going to want to go and check out the gardening Grant. Check that out. I got links down below. I believe we do have your YouTube channel as well down below in the description for everybody to go check out too. And you go over there and subscribe. And like I said, go and leave them a comment on a video and let them know you saw them here on the Let's Get Growing show. But again, lots of great stuff, Grant. I'm glad we got connected together and got a chance to get you here on the show. And eventually, hopefully down the road, we'll find a way to get you back on and talk a bit more about some of this stuff and maybe some more about some natives and things like that. I really love that conversation.
Would love to. I could go on for hours and hours. And remember, everybody, gardening is so fun, and I'm trying to make it fun. It's not. It is a whole new world of enjoyment. And I know I'm sure Wendy's going to touch on all of her journey coming up as well. But there is so much to unpack, and there's so much to be excited about. And I thank you for putting all this out here and putting this together, because sharing the love and sharing the knowledge is so critical. And I love the community. It's so great. And thanks for having me on. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely, Grant. It's been really great. Thank you so much for taking your time to be here with us and coming on the show with us to share all about what you have going on over there. And like I said, I look forward to possibly getting to see you again soon. And again, everybody, like I said, go check out the Gardening Grant. Links down below. And thank you so much. We'll see you soon.
Thanks.
Hey gardeners, thanks for tuning in to our show today. We'll be right back at it here in just a moment. I just wanted to take a second here to highlight our regular videos and features here on the Urban Gardener channel. Our weekly garden journals, and our incredible featured visits.
The answer to this week's trivia question is A. Although there are many, many different varieties of corn in the world, Golden Acre is not one of them. In fact, Golden Acre is a variety of cabbage closely related to red acre cabbage. Thanks for watching. Head over to Sarah's Seed Shop where you can find garden seeds at unbeatable prices. Enjoy the rest of the show and have a great day.
Oh my. I can't believe that. Okay. All right. I'm sure all of you just noticed that we played the wrong answer from Sarah's trivia. I don't know what happened, I could have swore I had that set up right. Oh my, oh my. Anyways, I guess I'll just have to tell you what the answer to this week's trivia question. It was, how tall is the tallest sunflower, tallest recorded sunflower? And the tallest recorded sunflower was C. That's what it was. The answer was C, 30 feet 1 inches. 30 feet 1 inches. Could you imagine that? Could you imagine looking at a sunflower 30 feet high? I can't imagine that. That's like 6 of me, maybe 5. I don't know, something like that. That's a tall sunflower. Anyways, check out Sarah's Seed Shop at sarahseedshop.com. Sorry, Sarah, I can't believe that. I don't know what I did there. I thought I had that also. It's labeled right. I don't know how and why it ended up putting on the wrong one. Well, anyways, thank you, Sarah, for doing that. And go check out Sarah's Seed Shop at sarahseedshop.com, as well as go check out some of our previous shows too. We had last Saturday we didn't have a show actually last Saturday. It was my granddaughter's very first birthday, so I took the Saturday off. We didn't have a show, so everybody, I did get to see that you all had a great chat. We left the chat open for everybody, so that's awesome. I love doing that when we don't have a show, is leaving the chat open and you guys getting together and hanging out anyways. Is really, really awesome. And as well too, last Sunday though, we did have a great roundtable discussion with our good friends Christopher Bransdahl joining us from the mountains of Norway, still the cold mountains of Norway. He was sharing that it's still a pretty cool season for them up there. And as well, we got to talk with Kang Star, our other good friend from the Kang Star channel and the Pepper Lovers community, for a really fun roundtable with those guys. You want to go back and check out that on our Sunday edition of last week on the show. So yeah, definitely go check back those shows for sure. And now, everybody, it's time for our featured guest.
You never know when you might learn something, and that's what this is about for me. These are people that I admire. Please welcome my next guest.
All right, everybody. Let's welcome back to the show our very first guest of the show, Wendi Phan from the Gardens of Wendiland. How you doing, Wendy? Great to see you.
Thank you for having me again. Hello, everyone.
Awesome,
good to see all of you today.
Yeah, it's great to see you. How you been doing?
Good. Been doing a lot of different things, and especially the new, changing things around in the patio garden right now with some things and planting and layouts and stuff like that. A lot of different things going on. A lot of content, stuff like that.
yeah I've been noticing you've been putting out a lot of great stuff. One of the things too is you really got your content making down. You put out some really good stuff lately. It's amazing.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it takes some time, but I guess I enjoy it, and I just can't stand it when I just kind of just throw something out just because, so I like storytelling. Right. And yeah
doing, and again too, the camera work is great. It's just so awesome. Just camera work, the like you said, the storytelling, all that sort of stuff. Some really, really wonderful stuff. And we'll definitely dig in and talk about some of those more recent ones you've been up to. But you said you're doing some been doing some moving around in the garden space right now, changing some things up.
Yep. I got some new planters. Trying out some new planters, and which actually creates a little more space for me to plant things in. Getting things on wheels. I love being able to easily, roll things around, even though there's like pavers and it's a little bumpy along that road, but it's better than trying to scoot everything by hand. And so I'm hoping I'll be able to get some of the plants that has no home finally can have a proper place so that they can actually flourish. I got a lot more plants sitting here than I have room for. So hopefully with this new design, new planters and everything, is going to get things growing some more again.
Yeah. Right on. And are you still up on that rooftop? Are you working on that as well?
I am. Someone was just asking me about that. I was like, Bodhi was asking about that.
Yeah.
I'm still kind of working out some details, but last night I went up to the rooftop to check out the fireworks, and I saw it's been really hot, and there's like a couple of sides on the walls that came down, so I need to contact the roofer and get some stuff fixed. But that tells me like I should leave some room all around, for easy access to do certain things, or yeah. So that project is still on.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Coming
at
through
least you're
first.
kind of up there, right? And you're just kind of following along with this year that you're going through. So you'll notice how things are going and all that sort
Yeah.
of stuff. And maybe, throughout this season, you'll really gather a great idea of how it's just going to be,
Yep.
yeah, just how you're going to
Yeah,
want
I'm
it for
just
next
getting a
season.
feel of the weather. Yeah, and I'm hoping I would like to catch, later like this season still. So I would at least get
Right.
a little bit, like a few things started up there. Yeah, but yeah, hopefully, I can get it started really soon. It's definitely something I'm really eager to do. Like I really want to be able to catch this this summer.
The full sun, the whole,
The full sun, it's crazy
I
full
know.
sun.
I'm excited too because I'm going to be getting my pepper plants and back up onto
Oh,
my
yeah, you
rooftop
mentioned about
garden
that
that I'm going to
before.
do. They're all set to go. I just got to get a couple of things together to finish up the project, and I'm going to work on that video hopefully this week and get that one done. But it's going to be exciting for me too to get back up into
Would
that
love having all that sun
garden
and
space.
space. Yeah, it's just every time
Yeah.
you go up there, I'm like, oh, what a waste of space.
Yeah, I know it is, and it's big and it's flat, and there's so much space up there too. We're going to start off a little small again, just to get started, and then by next year, things will be a lot more, and we'll have a lot more up there than just the pepper plants that we're doing, and that sort of thing.
For sure. And you know what? I got a really good deal on these flood tables, but they're so big. They're like 3 by 6 feet, and one is like 4 by 8 feet. I'm still trying to work out how I get the stuff up there.
Wow. Yeah. To have the big flood tables up there. Yeah.
I'm not doing hydroponics, but it's going to be a tray. So then the plants, everything will sit on top of there to just create a little bit of barrier between the plants and the rooftop. But yeah, I'm still.
But yeah, that'll be good though too, because then you're not going to have to worry about the watering as much and that sort of thing, having the flood thing. But yeah, no, that's really awesome too. And again, kind of coming back to it makes me think of like, when we're talking to newer gardeners, and one of the things I always tell them is like, your first garden is going to be your worst garden. You know what I mean? Because it's just, you're getting started and things are getting going, and that kind of rings true in sense too for even us experienced gardeners in new spaces. You know what I mean? In new places. So even for you, this first year up in the rooftops, a learning experience. It's, it's not going to be the best that you want it. You're going to try some things, do some things, and learn how it goes, right? And then by next year, you're going to be ready to go.
Oh, who knows? Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe.
Especially in the winter, I would love to be able to take advantage of it because we barely get any sun here, in the patio space. It's like just like your side gardens, right? There's barely any sun when the angle is low in the colder times.
Yeah, you got a really tall wall there.
I do. It's like
up next to
almost 6 feet. And then or the house is also a very tall wall. So
yeah. The fence on one side up at 6 feet, and then 30 feet. Yeah, I don't know, but but still, it's still amazing the things that you can grow in that space, though.
I try to take advantage of, especially when there's more sun right now.
In fact, that takes us to our first question from David. Bowtie Life in the Garden. Wendy, you've mastered the art of growing in small urban spaces. What's one common mistake people make when starting their own, let's say, outdoor? I don't know. We're talking outdoor gardens, I believe. So yeah, what's a common mistake people make in small urban garden spaces?
It's hard to say. It depends on, like, say if it's like a location, if it's like sunlight issue, then maybe growing wrong
coming back
plants,
to what we were
like
just talking about.
like that could be one. Picking like like a fruit tree or a fruiting kind of like trying to grow zucchinis in, like a dapple shade or a heavy shaded area, or just growing things like plants in the wrong like sun requirements, or growing plants that I think that are like way oversized and putting them too close together that would shade off. And that goes back to the sun requirement as well.
But that is, spacing's a
a
huge
big issue.
issue, even when it comes to small space gardens too. You want to, the inclination when you only got so much space is to cram things in. And,
exactly.
And you can do that to a certain level. Some plants don't really go by those numbers you see at the back of the seed packet, and they say, plant them 6 inches apart. Maybe they could go 4 inches, that sort of thing. But they maybe not 2 inches though. You know what I mean? And we should really kind of think about a plant when we're looking
you kind
at
of
a
have
plant.
to scale it down a little bit, but not too much. Like the layout becomes kind of, I think it's more of a challenge, or it's more important in a small space, because say if you grow, like depending on where the sun starts, like, like from east to west or something, if you have something really tall in front, where it gets morning sun, then it shades off something else behind it. And you don't have that much space in between to play with, say if you're in like a bigger space than a small space. You're basically just having like me standing in front of behind a really tall person, like this, whereas you have a bigger space, you can just be like, even though I'm like behind you, I'm still, where's the frame here? I'm still like, I still have this much space, whereas I'm like in a smaller space, I'm like right here. So it's I think the layout, just really be more mindful of how tall these plants would grow, what like do they like sun requirements. Like I think placement is also a big one for a small space, especially in a side garden kind of style like mine. It's not an open small space,
Yeah, exactly.
It's an alleyway.
It's nice narrow alleyway. But again, that's cramming things in is kind of the inclination with a small space. You want to fit as much in as you can,
it's
but
an art.
sometimes we've got to pull back a little bit and play around with it.
And I think to begin, honestly, the small space or anything beginning is always like keep it simple, and start adding, because you'll get overwhelmed.
Add as you go, keep it simple.
More chances for mistakes.
Right, exactly. And then again too, like you're saying, is also really understanding the light requirements of your plants too, going back to what we were saying with like having tall walls that might shade out certain areas. So if you're growing in a shaded area, you're going to want a plant that's going to be growing better in a shaded area versus needing more full sun. So then that's when we can kind of get into the idea of layering, right? So we got to make sure that we're layering our plants and making sure that the ones that can handle the shade are layered into the shade areas, the ones that are a little taller and up more that handle and get into that sunlight and all of that as well. So that could be a big thing that can help out with success, is just understanding the light requirements of the plants as well as, like you said, what they're going to be full size, so you can kind of get an idea of the spacing as well that you want to put them into.
Exactly. And shade garden in a shady small garden sometimes can mean like different than like a larger space shade. Like it could be like, you could be like under a tree, it would be like bright indirect sun kind of a shade, versus where mine would be like against a corner somewhere, it would be like deep dark shade. There's no dappled sunlight. There's it's not quite filtered indirect light for your orchids. Like it's just the plants can grow really linky, and maybe like hostas could go there, but not a whole lot of others. It's like how deep is this shade are we talking about too? And in a small space like mine that has like solid walls, it's a different kind of more like a dark space.
Exactly.
Really deep shade.
And then that's where you really got to, again, play around with your plants and try them in different spots and places, even if they are a shade loving thing. Like you're saying, maybe the shade's just a little too much for some certain shade plants. You're going to want to move them over a little bit. And maybe some are going to handle them really well, and those
varieties that do really well,
do that.
So you just have to experiment and grow different ones and find what works.
Right on. Excellent, excellent. Let's see here. I think did I see another one? Let me make sure here. Bowtie is always putting in these really great questions here.
Yeah.
Oh,
Question,
Wendy, what was the first plant that made you fall in love with gardening, and do you still grow it today?
That's such a good question. I love nostalgia. Memory lane. But that's actually a kind of hard question. I'm going to think.
Well, I remember the first plant I saw that you shared on YouTube, and I don't know if there was videos or back on there still from way back.
Probably.
But your little the little aquatic ball. What are they?
Okay.
Moss. Like what are they called?
Marimo. It's a Japanese, like moss ball. Traditionally, they as like a house pet. That was not. I mean, I guess I can answer this question in different ways. Like the first plant I ever grew was like a Christmas cactus or a cactus, kind of the succulent. That didn't get me super into gardening. I mean, I grew strawberries and little annuals and stuff, but the Marimo kind of got me was during my terrarium days when I was really into cacti, eco-friendly, like drought tolerant, succulents, stuff like that. And then the Marimo was really easy to care for in the house because I ran out of space outdoor as well, growing all my succulents and fragrant flowers, tulips, freesia, stuff like that. Like each year I would have this craziness about like one particular flower, and that's all I grew. I would rotate through like that. And then I'm like, well, there's no space for other stuff. So I moved on. I did terrariums and the Marimo balls. But the first plant that got me into food, maybe that was actually the question about food gardens.
We'll take it.
Okay. But I don't know if I have an answer for you. It was definitely some sort of fragrant herb, like a culinary herbs, because I enjoyed like trying and experimenting different flavors in foods. I think like peach, salvia, pineapple salvia, like pineapple sage, peach sage. I think those were the earlier cool herbs that I started growing because I was like, wow, it can smell so good, and I've never had the smell before. You only see like oregano, thyme, rosemary, stuff like the classic Italian, at the grocery store. So I think those were like the earlier salvia and culinary herb days.
I love the what was that, the pineapple sage? Remember we went to that farmer's market and you told me to buy that pineapple sage, and I was oh, this is amazing. You're gonna love this. You got to grow this. The flowers are awesome, and the hummingbirds love it and all of that. And it's like and now ended up being the problem though is that I planted it low to the ground, and of course I'm in an alleyway and I've got cats. So as soon as I saw them hummingbirds floating around that thing, I was like, oh no, I dug that thing right up, put it in the container and stuck it up as high as I could for a while. And it grew in the container for a good couple seasons still and everything too. But I really did like that pineapple sage. That was a really great one.
Yeah, especially later on, I found one that's like a chartreuse. So it's a really neon color one. So like, I love that so much. Especially in the summer right now, with these herbs and like the sweet floral, fruity kind of smells are so good for those chilled drinks and those like fruity, sweeter salads. Yeah.
Everybody knows my story though when it comes down to it. I've told it many times here on the show. It was a cucumber for me. That was the first plant, like food plant anyways, that got me going. A friend gave me a cucumber plant and I grew that out on a balcony. It was the first food I'd grown plants my whole life, basically indoor plants, but this cucumber got me going. I got to eat my first cucumbers from that I grew myself, and I was hooked. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna grow anything I can now as far as food, and I'm gonna try things I've never eaten before and all of that sort of stuff because I just fell in love with the idea of food gardening.
And cucumber is actually such a great start especially if you had success with it, because cucumbers is hard to find them fresh, like great, unless you actually hit up a farmer's market, The supermarket, it's either they go bad so fast or they're just kind of spongy, they're old, like the fresh ones just that
They're not as
bite is so
tasty or as
not as tasty. It doesn't have
sweet.
that snap, that crisp, that
Mhm.
juice. It's the sweetness. It's different. So I think
It is.
melons and cucumbers, yeah, those are probably
And then the variety, the
convincing
different types of
plants.
cucumbers you can grow and all of that. I just grew a regular
Yeah,
cucumber plant that I think that my
still
friend got from a
better.
regular nursery, which was great. But from there, I was on to
Which
growing all
probably
these
is
other different
easier to
times.
grow. Yeah,
Yeah. And then I love
that's a
my
great thought.
favorites. My favorite personal favorites is the lemon cucumber. I love those little lemon
Mm,
cucumbers. They're so good.
that's a good treat. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Right on, right on.
Right
Excellent.
on.
So, Wendy, last time we talked to you, you were, I think, just back from a trip, but now you've already taken a couple of other trips that I think we need to talk about
Yeah, yeah.
again. You are just
Okay.
jet set lately, doing all this, like I said, doing all this wonderful content. So everybody, I mean, really, if you haven't had a chance to get and check in Wendy's recent videos and things that she's been putting out, you want to go check out some of this stuff. It's really, really great. Let's talk about your last trip here. I mean, to Vietnam. You went back again. And
Okay.
I know last time we talked about your last trip, which was really wonderful and great, and talking about what you were anticipating on doing this time around. So did you get around to doing most of the things that you were planning on doing?
I did one. Let's see, where did I go? I went to Central Vietnam, which was my first time there. I was in the
Yeah.
south. I'm usually in the south, and then I went to the north, and this time I went to the central.
Okay.
And went to this really fun, this garlic island.
Oh, wow.
It was like the most highly prized garlic, like the best garlic in Vietnam. Like everyone, it's kind of like the
Wow.
name brand of garlic. If they mention like it's from this island, everyone's like, oh, it's actually
Yeah.
a special
Like a
variety.
champagne or something, right?
Exactly, something like that. Yeah. So it was like a whole different variety that's grown there. It's not even like about, I mean, the soil there is a lot richer, the minerals and everything that I think does make the produce taste better, but it is a whole different variety of garlic.
Yeah.
So you got all those, they were everywhere. And the smell was like everywhere, like you just breathing in garlic.
Oh,
And
wow.
on the whole island, the streets were all laying there, were drying. We went on a really good time where it was harvesting season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So they were laying them out, drying up everywhere, floors,
Do you know,
temples,
are they
houses.
growing? Is it like all sorts of different varieties of garlic, or do they have like a certain variety
It's really
that they
the one that
specialize in?
they specialize in one kind.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if they grow the regular kind as well, but that's kind of like what the whole island is known for. So I actually didn't even ask if they have the regular garlic, because all I saw everywhere that was selling and drying and harvesting was that kind.
Yeah.
And it tastes better or good in a different way. Like
Do you know if it's like a soft neck or a hard neck?
they called it a soft neck, but I think
Good.
referring it to just like how to tell when it's ready to harvest, because he was kind of showing me like what soft or something. He said pull it out, but I think he's just referring to
Right.
like big, like when the plant falls down, then that's when you like.
Yeah. So then that would be a soft neck for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Dusty Flat says Vietnamese red. Maybe that's what it's called.
No, it's not very big either. They're kind of like miniature garlic.
Pretty.
Yeah. I still got to edit that video, and you guys will definitely get to experience it.
Yeah, that would be great. I look forward to it.
I don't know the name. It's like a specialty there, and
yeah. Sounds great though. I love garlic.
There's like no English names. Yeah.
I mean, kind of going back to that other previous question too, is something I also mentioned at the beginning of the show, because my last video I did was our garlic harvest. So I just harvested my little patch of garlic
yeah, some
here.
people are harvesting garlic right now. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just did my garlic harvest, and really in a way too, that was kind of one of my first plants that when I learned how it grew versus how I initially started growing it, you know what I mean? So it was kind of like the learning process of figuring out how to grow garlic I thought was kind of interesting because you plant it in the fall versus, in the regular season when you're planting other things and stuff. So all of that sort of learning curve in learning how to grow garlic, I just made that one of my first real kind of favorites. Like when I figured that out, you know what I mean? And I grew my first real great garlic, and had my first bulbs come out of the ground. I think that was probably when I was the most excited about one of those first things I was growing. Right. Especially because, again, too, this is like similar to like a root crop in a sense as well, too. Right.
Root crops
Potatoes
are
or
fun.
something.
Yeah.
Because they're under the ground and you don't know what you got.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Until you pull it up out of the ground. Right.
It's always a surprise. It's kind of an unknown, right? And you just hope for the best because you're like, it's growing. The top's growing so well. I'm hoping. You actually don't know until you pull it, like you said.
Yeah, exactly. And so, that's the thing. So it's always kind of a surprise. What do I get? How do they look? All that sort of stuff. I will mention though too is I had something very interesting happen with I have some plants or bulbs that I think were left in the ground from the previous season, right? So it was like one bulb that grew, and I think it ended up being the elephant garlic that I grew the season before, because I didn't grow elephant garlic this year. And and I was so surprised because, again, we talk about spacing, right? And having plants together, right? So you have your cloves and you want to place them out enough to let each plant grow, right? But if you leave a bulb in the ground, all of those cloves are bunched together and they're just going to resprout and regrow the next season.
Yeah.
So then you would think. So I was really surprised when I had these 3 that were growing up right out of the same spot. So I was like, obviously a bulb got left and they were growing. I pulled them out of the ground and I was really surprised at how full and how really nice the bulbs were. It was just really amazing and big too. Because like I said, I think it was the elephant garlic. I don't know how and why. It was just kind of a mystery to me. But I thought it was just really fascinating that how it grew being so close together like that, but still grew nice, good, full-size bulbs. That was really great, really interesting.
That's awesome. Remember, it's kind of like I don't remember the term of it, but basically you can grow things in like a bunch in threes, kind of like
right,
like carrots and beets, Still, I guess it still has room to kind of like push out a little bit, like 3. 5 is probably getting a bit too much, but like you can kind of form like a bigger circle with the 3 pushing out. And I guess your garlic is kind of the same idea. But elephant garlic too, it's not regular, because regular garlic you just have like a bunch of greens that shoot up, right? Like a whole group of them.
Yeah. And because the interesting thing was and I didn't notice this as I was putting the video together, but then when I was editing, I was thinking about it and I was like, it really makes a lot more sense, because the flowers that came up, they weren't like the regular garlic flowers, because with the elephant garlic they produce their little bulbils, these little bulblets that form all over. They'll form on the roots, they'll form on the garlic bulbs themselves. They'll kind of form up, whereas like a soft neck too will form little bulbils as well, but they'll form them up the stem. So you have these little bunches up the stem where they'll basically form their little seed and all of that. But I thought the flower head looked a little different this time, and they are from an elephant garlic to a regular garlic. They're just a little bit different of an allium flower head.
You might be coming up with your own variety there.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows? I don't know. It was interesting though, that's for sure. I was like, I didn't grow this, but it sure come up.
Yeah. Those usually are very strong plants.
Right on. So what other things did you get on up to there in Vietnam while you were there?
I kind of stayed local this time. I was able to meet up with someone else that I did like a rooftop, a tour, garden tour with him, and then met up with another local there. Their friends that had like this rooftop garden. So I kind of stayed around like locally, just hung out with my family more, and then also just kind of did my thing there. There's like indoor rock climbing stuff that was really fun. So that was like my playground, and then I checked out gardens and tried out fruits and made more content,
You're right. Exactly.
Yep.
That's right. Right on, right on. Yeah, and David was saying it here too. He's like, I absolutely love that last rooftop garden tour you did. Said he
Oh
got excited because
yeah.
he thought it was yours for a moment.
Oh, it was you. He went
The
on
video,
holiday and came back. I think I remember that comment. Like, I
yeah,
came back. I thought
the
Wendy
video
like,
was
dang.
awesome. That lady is a hero. Yeah, that was such an awesome
Yeah,
space.
like it's quite normal to have a rooftop garden over there because living in the city, you can only build up. Like there's really no space to grow outside unless you're just lining like a row of smaller like planters outside your house, you know.
Yeah.
But hers was crazy because she's in like this 8, 9 story house, and then like every level had a balcony, which is still normal. You know, everyone likes to have a little outdoor access, their balcony space, but you can tell like she was really into gardening, you know, because she made every level, everywhere she could grow, she would have a whole different theme. She'd have like a hydrangea balcony, like one level was like hydrangeas, one was for orchids, one was for, I don't know, some other shade loving plants, depending on the sunlight, you know, the requirements.
Yeah.
That's kind of based off of growing those specific plants for that level. And then of course the rooftop being with most sun exposure, so that's where she grows food. Yeah, that was really cool. I was like, wow. And I wish I can have, you know, my rooftop like easy access, like just a regular stairs going up just like that. And I wish it could hold that much weight like hers. It's as if it's just a normal floor, because outdoor living and outdoor space like that in Vietnam and some parts of Southeast Asia is quite normal, you know, so for it to hold that much weight. I mean, I think, I don't know for sure, but it's just, that's how people do it there. It just looks like there's no difference between like the structure of building inside like your house, but then it's just like the outdoor space, like the balcony just doesn't have a top, doesn't have a roof, like a cover, you know, but like the amount of weight it can hold on your balcony versus your like bedroom or your living space, like your indoor space, it seems like it's the same. People put like everything there, they live there. And yeah, I wish our rooftop is meant to do that too.
Right. Oh man, it's just so amazing, so beautiful. And I just love again too how you know, you see those sort of things. We had Jason Williams, he's a cloud gardener over in UK, and he went on a trip over to like China and Malaysia and some other places as well too, to tour around and look at the urban green spaces and how they do things over there. And it's just, you know, they just have a whole different perspective on plant life incorporated with, you know, your everyday life over there.
Yeah, everywhere has it different ways, very innovative.
It's just it's really incorporated with their living spaces and outdoor spaces, and it's always, it just seems like in every space there's some sort of thought to nature and plant life of some sort.
Yeah. And especially I think with like developing countries, or China's not a developing country anymore, but places like that, when it used to be like an older place, but now they're putting these new things in place. It seems like they're way more advanced than we are now, you know, just because more opportunities and options are there now. Like the later you build, you know, you start, there's just like way more options, and they just have so much like more like technologically more advanced stuff, like just really cool, really mind-blowing things. And like Vietnam is doing a lot more different kinds of agricultural, like they're implementing like from like Taiwan's been one that's been around for them for a long time, but like also Japan, like different varieties they're trying to grow there. And I think there's like some Japanese farmers that go out there to kind of teach them to get some, you know, to learn their ways. So yeah, the agricultural industry is growing, I think, in like a not just in the main way, the conventional way, but also in like the catering to the more specialty produce, which is really cool.
Yeah, it's really, really great. Let's see here. Big Wes's Lawn Care says, is there a Wendiland YouTube channel? You bet there is.
Yes,
Right
a
down
new
below
video
in the
coming out this
description.
evening too. Yes.
links in the description for everybody, and I think Jay just put a link in the chat for you
Awesome.
all as
Thanks,
well
Jay.
too. So go over there and check out Wendy's
Yes.
content. Like I said, she's
The
got some
rooftop
great
garden.
stuff coming out. You want
The
to
stuff we
keep
were
an eye out.
talking about. Yeah.
Yes, for sure. All right, let's see. We got some more questions, but David's keeping our conversation rolling along here with some really great questions. All right, let's see here. He says, let's play matchmaker. Which exotic plant deserves to be more famous, and why should gardeners try it? Oh, yeah, you grow a lot of really cool, interesting stuff. What is one of those things that you grow that you think more people should try? More gardeners should grow. Maybe something a little versatile too, though, right? That can get into most home gardeners.
Oh, what? As in home gardens can grow it, like they can get their hands in it, like easily
or try
purchased or
something.
found somewhere, or so exotic, but a little more common, like easily found.
Well, exotic, but I don't know. Like
and easy accessible.
I'll just say I was thinking when we were saying this that there was this one time you were showing me what were they? They were like melons, but they had the really cool seed pods inside of them. And they were like red. Oh, they were like really like a deep red inside of them. Can't remember what the name of it was.
Oh, gack fruit.
Was
it
it
big spiky? No, you didn't see it in person.
No, I don't know if that was the one that was called.
Was it like a video? The gack fruit, like a dinosaur.
No, I think we saw one at the. I think we were looking at one at the Heirloom Expo, and
perhaps,
and you were telling me, and I think they had the seeds available at
the
on the Baker Creek.
It's the gack fruit
seed catalog.
Yes.
Yeah,
GAC.
Yeah.
I have a short on that. So basically,
so there are ways. I mean, you can get a hold of seeds. So when I was thinking, like, can you access them? I mean, like maybe you can order some seeds or find some stuff.
Those
like
ones,
that,
I think, does Baker Creek carry them, or at one point they did. I'm not too sure about that one. But
is there another type of melon one though too that has a really cool like red kind of seed? Something that's like something melon. I can't remember.
There's a lot of like heirloom variety of melons that are so tasty. I think people should grow. Does that count as exotic? I don't know. Like, there's a lot of heirloom. Like Baker Creek has a lot of those. Like, like they'll say, like, I don't remember the names, but like the French variety or the smaller ones, and they're just like they're small, like almost like personal size ones that are really sweet and good for small space too. Yeah, like would you say like rare, like less common variety? Would that pass as an exotic variety?
Yeah. Or just I guess anything that you wouldn't see a
normal average. Yeah, because maybe I'm thinking way too into the spectrum of
just there's general corn, carrots, and those sort of things. But then there's these other kind of cool, interesting,
Yeah, like I really enjoy the sort of Asian variety of corn that has like a more like a sticky rice, like a sweet rice. So it is heavier on starch. It's not sweet like our like sweet corns, but it has a really good chewy texture. It's like kind of chewy and dense. So those are really like good, like roasted or like grill, on the grill, stuff like that. So like there's always like a little more special variety of something, like say like corn we're familiar with, but like something a little more different variety of corn, or an apple that is like red on the inside, or a pink inside, like something we're still familiar with, but a little different, right?
Exactly. And again, too, that's one of the fun things about growing and doing things, similar like back to the cucumber story in a way, as I grew that regular old average cucumber the first time, but now I grow in cucumers. I want to try all these different cool interesting
your tiger melons or whatever, all
these different ones that aren't as typical in the garden space. And that's the fun thing with growing stuff, growing greens, Asian greens, getting some of those Asian greens and different types of things into your space more than just the regular old lettuces and cabbages. Right.
Yep.
That would make it exotic, right? Because your
just has to be a little less
a bit different.
Stuff that you can like grow that's like beyond what you can find at the the supermarket. Maybe that's just what it means.
Yeah, and which is a lot of stuff, which is
Which
is really one of the great reasons to be a gardener, right? And to grow things is because of just all this stuff you can grow that you can't find at a
you have
supermarket.
all the control, way more control of you get to decide what goes in there, what you want to plant, and when you want to harvest it, so like you get to have a say in all of that. So that's really makes it it's a joy.
South Florida is like, I'm surprised jackfruit is not in every grocery store by now. Oh man, wouldn't it be nice? But they are delicious.
They are. I feel like they should at least have them. I don't know about frozen.
I haven't found it. I mean, I've checked a couple of like Asian markets and stuff
Mexican
around
markets,
here, but I haven't found one yet. Here.
Really? Oh, okay. What about where you are?
I'm in Southern Oregon, so I don't know. I have to expand out. Maybe check some other. I've checked a few different places so far.
Probably like international.
Intermittently though.
And,
check it out. And I know we got a couple of newer markets that have opened up in the last year or so. So I'm gonna have to go out and look again.
Yeah.
Costco
might have freeze-dried ones.
Oh yeah, right. Or
durian. They have a durian.
They can them even too, and
right. And, I don't know about canned. It feels like the texture would be different, but sitting in that liquid.
Nothing beats fresh though. Nothing beats fresh.
Yeah, the fruit things. It's kind of texture kind of changes when it's sitting in liquid.
Yeah. Let's see here. Let's see. We got another question in here.
Fun question. You guys have good questions. Yeah.
I know. Look at this. South Florida really Sunshine Tropicals asks, what are some much Asian crops for my climate? Zone 10B, 11A, Florida. Ooh, some Asian crops that would grow in that type of. What would you say in Vietnam there? What would you say their zone would be? What would you? I don't know if they have zones.
12? No, they don't. But I don't know. How far do we go? 16? I don't remember. How far does it go?
I think Florida will get down to like 13, maybe 14 down there.
14? I don't remember what the max is.
I'm not sure. I'm sure Bowtie knows.
But Florida is very similar. The tropical parts of Florida is very similar to Southeast Asia. They are able to grow a lot of their fruits. So it would be like Malabar spinach.
Spinach.
The vine, that's like a succulent, little slimy. Okra. So you're thinking of like heat loving and probably water loving as well. So okras, pineapples, leafy greens. What did we just say there? Oh, Malabar spinach.
Yeah.
They have some kind of like gailan. I don't know what that's called in English. Chinese broccoli. And then some Chinese greens, some Asian greens that has like a little bit of like a silvery sheen over it. Usually those that silver or blue hue, kind of like leaves it's like their own sunscreen, so they tend to do better in the sun. So maybe look out for something like that to try.
Right on.
Yeah, what else? Sweet potatoes. Hey. Morning glory, sweet potato. Oh, well, in Vietnam we call water spinach morning glory because it's in the same family, I guess. But so water spinach. Although I don't think you're allowed to grow water spinach in Florida. So grow sweet potatoes because you can also harvest the tubers and the leaves.
Sweet potatoes would do good in that kind of climate too, huh?
They love the heat, yeah,
they'll love it. Let's see, MKP says zone map goes up to 13.
Oh,
South
thank you.
Florida Sunshine Tropical says, yes, we are similar to Vietnam and Thailand areas.
Yep.
Yeah. Exactly.
So I guess some of my trips, you can check out my videos and the garden tours and the farms and places I visited in Vietnam. That would be very similar. That would be some, get some ideas from there.
Let's see. So it says, yes, I grow sweet potatoes and yams. My ube just became invasive.
Oh, ube, yes. That's a big one.
Yeah.
The yams. Yep.
Real yams, right?
Yep. True yum. Yum,
True
yum, yum.
yam.
Yeah.
Yum, yum, yum.
Yum's a yummy, yum, yum.
Yummy, yummy, yummies. All right, let's see here. When we got what has been the most heartwarming story a customer, follower, or Wendy's fans have shared with you about how Wendyland inspired them? Oh, I will share this real quick. Yeah, while you think about maybe something there that might be the case, but I will share this.
Okay.
I think this is the second time we met. The second year we were at the heirloom exposition. I still love the story of the lady that came up to us from England. We were standing there talking about something,
Oh,
and she was from England. And I still got the picture up on the wall of the three of us together and everything because I think it's one of my favorite memories. But we were standing there talking about something, and she goes from across the way as she was walking towards us, and she was like, "Oh my, Wendy," in this great just English accent and everything. Wendy, 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 you know, oh my gosh. And she just was this, it was the greatest thing. She's like, oh my God. And then proceeded to tell us about how they were taking a trip, her and her husband, from England to the East Coast.
it was their anniversary.
It was their anniversary.
Yeah.
That's right. It was their anniversary trip, mind you. And she left her husband on the East Coast.
Thank you very much.
So that she can fly over to California to come see Wendy at the heirloom exposition. But the cool thing for me, though, is that she recognized me as well, too. And I was like, what? No way. But that was really so funny. I just can't believe that story. And she was like, yeah, I left my husband. He's over in the East Coast right now while I'm here hanging out at the Heirloom Expo with all these great gardeners I love to follow online. So that one was fun. That's a fun story of a follower of yours, I know for sure.
Of yours too. She knows who you are, right?
Yeah.
And you just started out at that time. So
I know I couldn't believe it at the time, actually, because I mean, yeah, we were. I think by that second year we were right around 1,000 subscribers. You know what I mean?
Oh,
And
wow,
that's,
okay.
I mean, it was like 1,000 subscribers,
that's
and
something. Yeah.
but there's a lot more views. You know what I mean? You have a lot more
Mm.
viewers than the subscribers. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I'm sure she'd
Yeah.
seen
So
the videos
people
and
like.
everything, so,
Mhm.
yeah. Yeah, that's
That was a
great.
good
That's
story,
great. You got
yeah.
any other good ones?
Oh, I don't remember specific ones, but I think there were times that people have came up and, you know, like thanked me for like certain plants that I've told them about that
Mhm.
like it started out because I think there was a time I was really like my family really enjoyed the longevity spinach called Genera procumbens.
Procumbens?
And a
Yeah.
lot of people have been saying that it helped them with their blood sugar. And we were kind of like doing like the curious about the testings, like, you know, like with my dad and like our friends and family, we were curious if it was really helping them, you know, and then we were just like sharing the veggies and I did the videos about it. And I also have like a plant, you know, like online plant shop. So like
Mhm.
some people were like, you know, supporting the channel that way for purchasing plants and seeds and stuff like that. And so there was a couple of them that came up to me and thanked me that how like it got her dad and herself, like they were like, she was like losing weight because she started eating the veggies. And then of course that kind of got the ball rolling into like growing more, you know? It's kind of like you
Yeah.
started with a cucumber and you're like, oh my gosh, it's amazing. Let's
Yeah.
expand now, you know, and they're growing their food gardens.
Yeah.
And the most, I guess, the recent one. Oh, what was so? Oh, I wish I knew her name, but I saw her. I think it was my second time I saw her when I was at Bakersville, Baker Creek in Mansfield,
Yeah.
Missouri.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and she came to my talk. I think it was like my second time seeing her. She came with maybe her mom or a friend or something, and she was always like asking a lot of questions and she's like very attentive. And then we had a conversation later on and she was like, we were sharing stories and about her, like, you know, some things for like from what they ate, like vegetables, the bitter vegetables, stuff like that. That are so good for you, like in Africa, and how they didn't see some kind of like health issues as much because of the maybe it was tied to like the vegetable, like their diet. And then at the very end of my talk, some people had questions, and then when I got to her, she's like, do you have a cookbook or something, like, or maybe you should write one or something.
Right.
Because like I did a talk on like a garden for the senses. I put up that talk on the channel. And so I basically talked about what kind of veggies I would pick to grow if I had to like move somewhere to start over, So I talked about the different types of like flavor profiles and like the plants I would choose based on that. And I shared a lot of like the ways how I enjoy making food with it, stuff like that. So like she was asking about a cookbook, and
that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, right. That would be that I
Yeah.
wouldn't mind taking on that project. That would be really fun. That was very flattering.
And while you were saying that, you mentioned one word that reminded me of, I think, bitter melon, right?
Yes.
Isn't this one with a little red seed and they're like
Yes, you're
little,
right.
inside of
Yes.
it?
And the
Yes,
seeds are
that was
good.
the one I was trying to think of earlier.
Oh, it wasn't the
Earlier this night.
fruit. That's a little
It might
too out there. Yeah.
Maybe.
Okay. I love bitter melons.
Yeah.
I love bitter melons.
I
Yeah,
was like, I was thinking, is it a melon? Was it this and that? But then when you said bitter, I was like, that's what it was. It was bitter melon. That's what it was.
a melon bitter. Yes.
Yeah.
And the white variety is less bitter. And I love juicing them.
Yeah. Make some good juice.
That with some pineapple. So it's a good combination. It's something I think they could kind of do this in Taiwan. The bitter melon pineapple, I think, but I think they add sugar and stuff like that on top of that. But I just do it without. And anyway, it's good. I know it's kind of like bitter, but a little bit of that pineapple sweetness kind of cuts through, and it's very like fragrant with a tropical pineapple scent. Little citrus. Usually, I think something sour goes really well with bitters.
Yeah.
And then if I put like carbonation in it, it tastes kind of like, well, to me, it's like reminds me of beer.
Oh yeah.
Without the pineapple, but maybe a little bit, depends on what kind of beer you're drinking.
There you go. Nice natural non-alcoholic beer.
Yeah, bitter melon
there you
juice,
go.
carbonated.
Yeah, that would be interesting there for sure. Right.
It's good.
Excellent. Let's see here. I know there was another question or two we had in here. What is this one here? What other than the rooftop garden, are there any future projects, plants, or directions you're excited about that you can give us a sneak peek of? Any upcoming projects, things you're working on?
My life revolves around the garden and plants.
And and cool projects too, constantly.
Cool projects. Yeah. I mentioned earlier about kind of, what do you say, like working on the patio garden and the front garden, kind of just the layout and a bit of a makeover, you can call it. Yeah, so that's kind of like I don't know, it's kind of big. It's not huge, but I think it'll make a big difference when I'm done. I think I'll be able to grow more stuff and it'll look nicer. It'll look more tidy. It wouldn't look as crowded. I'm trying to, I think the past couple or few years, I was kind of focused on growing the most I could.
Yeah.
And it felt like it was like a crazy jam-packed jungle. But right now I'm trying to create a space that feels a little more like breathable, but you can also grow a lot of food. So like it doesn't feel like you're in a space with a lot of food, but like, oh, it's a small space, but it has a little bit of an airiness, like breathable room, but then there's still quite a lot in here, a lot of varieties. I'm still doing a lot of different, like, vertical stuff, like all the stuff I've been doing, but I'm trying to make it look less like I'm packing it all in an alley.
Yeah.
If that makes
Even though
sense.
it's kind of cool, but it's still in some sense when you kind of, maybe
it's hard to film when I try to put my tripod,
But then it also makes things maybe a little more you see things more, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
versus
sometimes
everything's all kind of together. It can help
the plants
highlight
don't
what you're
fully get
seeing
to
versus
open and look as beautiful, and like more potential for them to expand and grow, and just being able to like move my ladder around again a little bit here and there. You know, like I got a ladder that I was like, it was like a multi-purpose ladder.
Yeah.
And anyway, it ended up being so heavy I couldn't even lift it up to like proper to change, like to make it extend. But anyway, ladders that you want it to go high up, that you want to also be safe, has like a wider taper, like a wider base. That base is wider than the walkway here, so it's really difficult for me to like get to my vertical garden. So I kind of want to have a little bit of wide, like a little bit more open space in certain places. Not that much room. We're talking about just a few inches more, really, but yeah.
Excellent.
Makes a difference in a small space.
That makes this last question from Bowtie Life with great questions, David. Thank you so much. But this one
questions
here, even more interesting. If Wendiland became a physical location, a real life destination garden people could walk through, what would be its first feature?
Gosh, I love your questions.
I'd imagine like
what's up all these play cards?
Sweet potatoes is what I would think. Sweet potato vine arch or something like that as well.
It would be loofahs.
Loofahs. That's up David's alley for sure.
Oh yeah.
David grows all.
David's is like walking is kind of like doing these like obstacles. It goes pow, like what do you call those games, like game shows?
Where they're just bam, bam, knocking you out as you're walking
your way through, like a long arch.
That would be funny.
Like tunnel.
But you're running through like 5 or 6 people right in a row. So like a game you're pushing them and this and that, and they're smacking each other.
What is it, like American Gladiators or something?
Right.
With like a vegetable garden, like a food garden. No.
Yeah. That would be a great Wendiland feature. A little kind of like walk through, whether it was kind of like a maze garden or something.
You'll have to wear a helmet when you walk through and play
get
this
through
game.
the loofahs or trombocino squashes maybe or something as well. Those big long squashes that hang as well.
Yep. I'll get you a helmet and you can run through it.
Exactly.
Yeah, that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, he says, oh, but I only have 45,000 loofah seeds left from last year. Yeah, I think he grew, if I remember, like he grew 5 loofah plants or something last year and ended up with hundreds of loofah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to make like a percussion instrument with different types of seeds. That would use up your thousands of seeds very quickly.
Oh yeah, you could have different ones with different seeds that make different sounds that you do.
Yep.
Sort of like you would do like the xylophone or whatever, right? Or the bells. You can do the ones where you pick up the bells in the holiday ones where they do the bells.
Yeah.
But you do them with seeds.
Mm-hmm. Seeds and gourds, different vegetables.
Oh, that's great. That's so fun. Right on, right on. Excellent. Well, what a again, everybody, thanks for the awesome questions, David and Sunshine, and you guys really brought some it really made for a great conversation. I love those questions. I gotta remember some of those.
Daydream a bit,
Yeah, I gotta
great questions. Yeah.
I know. I gotta write some of that stuff down and remember them for future shows too.
Oh, you just asked David.
I know. That's why it's great to have some of these guys in here to help me with these interviews, man, for sure. Oh yeah, here's David. He says you had 5 plants, 500 loofah for eating and scrubbing, 45,500 seeds, 2,500 square feet of 2 gardens totally consumed. Yeah, he had a picture where it just showed it just ate up everything and was heading off to his neighbors.
That's how mine was when we grew just a few plants. They had more room to expand. The loofah went crazy like that too. Like we were so sick of eating them at one point. Even our friends and families were sick of eating them because they're just like too much. There's always
enough of this. It's always with everything, or like sort of like courgettes or zucchini as well. People
way too much.
I've had enough because they just produce so much.
You get so excited when you have like a new person that comes in, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
and
Oh,
like
here, you
enjoys
got
it. You're like,
it.
oh, you do?
Here,
Here,
take these with you.
here,
Here, no, not just one. Here's a
take them
box.
home.
Here's a box.
Put them on, yeah, in a box. Take them on a plane with you. You know, like,
Yeah.
help me,
Mr.
please.
Nerd asks, does Miss Wendy have a favorite flower? Not counting that iris. You got an iris back there?
How the heck did he see that, or is it my recent post? I don't remember. So I knocked this one down last night because I was moving things out of the way so I can get on the ladder. I wanted to go see the fireworks. And I knocked this one down.
Oh no, yeah. Oh, this is a nice.
Huge. Is this like a normal large size? It just looks really huge.
That looks great. Yeah, it looks great. Looks great.
Still
And it's
huge
just
and screen, but I mean, like, look how
that's a good
great.
like I've got a
I got this one at the Heirloom Expo one year, the seed swap. It was like a lady. Nice. Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. But
no
yeah, it was like some lady's real estate or something. Like she really was just so fond of irises. I think that was like the only thing she grew, or the very few things she grew. And after she passed away, her daughter or someone in her family was giving away the what do you call them? Not the crowns. What do you call these? The like root.
Oh, like are they corms or?
They're not even called corms. What
no,
the heck?
no,
I forget
no.
They're almost like rhizomes, right?
Like
but,
a rhizome.
Anyway, that little part. Yeah, help me out, you guys. What is that called?
Anyways, it's the root basically of it, and
so
I've got that specific one, that variety. I've got maybe about 40 of them that have grown and expanded and multiplied over the years from one that I had many years ago. So I've got to give away a bunch of those.
Too pretty. I just want to show it off.
It's so isn't me. And just like when you open up that inside a little bit too.
Yeah. I have never been like too crazy about irises, but when I was picking it out, they didn't label what it was, but I was hoping it would be like a nice pretty purple one. And then I don't know, I think I forgot about it or I misplaced it. And then 2 years or 3 years later, I found it. It was drying up, but it was sprouting a little bit. So I put it in the ground anyway, planted anyway, just to see what happens. And then like it skipped a year or I think I missed a bloom last year because I was away. This year I actually got to, like, I caught it and I was like, oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. And I think I was also in love with the story. And it smells good. So just everything about it just made me really like enjoy this now. But to answer Observe's question, favorite flower, I'm not going to say one flower, but I really enjoy fragrant flowers. And sambac, I think it's called sambac jasmine, is one of my favorite scents when it comes to like the flowers. It's not like my favorite looking, what do you call it? Like flower.
Yeah.
What the heck is it? Visually.
But as far as fragrance,
wise, it is for fragrance. But visually, fragrance, I also enjoy the chocolate daisies. It smells like chocolate. But visually, oh my goodness, visually, what do I? Just the top of my head right now, I don't think it's my top favorite. Well, maybe it's one of my top favorites. It's from a succulent.
Yeah.
I forget the name of it. I'm so bad with names, you guys. But it looks like a starfish. And it smells like rotting flesh. So completely other side of the smelling spectrum.
Beautiful flower, but not a great smell.
But I also, it was weird. I enjoyed the smell too. I don't know. I'm very versatile in my taste. And I like really odd and alien looking things and all that. But I will tell you, though, Observe Nerd, one of my favorite plants in the garden, not a flower, but it's the cushion bush. It's got this very, very beautiful, like silvery white sheen. It's ornamental, but it's very like it could be somewhat drought tolerant once established. It's like some Australian native. Australia has like really cool ones. Tea tree. I love the tea tree too, and that smells good. Anyway,
passion fruit. Oh my gosh,
cool
the flowers are amazing. Like varieties. Those irises, just so complex
petals, so geometrically interesting
Yeah.
Those flowers I think were pretty fascinating when I was young, when I saw like passion fruit flowers, you know.
Yeah.
It's so unusual.
As far as fragrance for me though is this one here is corn plant. It's a
Corn.
corn plant. Yeah. It's
The one you just touched earlier?
yeah, this one here. Yeah.
Oh,
It's a corn plant. I
I'll have to look
have
it
to
up.
pull it out, but they got the
Yeah.
big stalks and they grow the nice cool leaves off of them and everything. And so a lot of people grow them as like indoor plants and all of that, but they produce, it isn't like, I mean, it's a cool, interesting flower for sure. But the fragrance of the flower is one of the most amazing things I've experienced. It's an experience, really, is what it is. Smells amazing for one, but I know the plant is flowering when I open the door, come into the house, and all of a sudden it goes bam! That fragrance just hits you like, whoa! Just hits every bit of senses and everything, and you're like, is this something else? And then if you leave the door open, your neighbors will come over and go, what is that smell coming from your house? Because it's very pungent in the sense of like strong fragrance. It'll go a distance, but just amazing, an amazing flower fragrance. And that's why it's called. And that's why it's called the Dracaena fragrans too, is because out of all the Dracaenas, it is just an amazing smell from the flower. Yeah, I love that one. And the flowers are interesting, but they're not like the pretty flowers, like the really, really pretty flowers.
Oh yeah,
for smell,
you can't have it all.
Man, you can't beat that for sure.
Well, I don't know. This smells pretty good. It looks beautiful.
Oh,
and it's drought tolerant. And
yeah, you can't beat a bearded iris.
But it does love the sun. That's a little hard for my garden. I guess you can't have it all.
My neighbor, I had one of those. In fact, it's the one plant that I grow still today that came with the place I moved into 12, 13 years ago. He was just growing out in the front in this little corner part, and it had the one little I think I don't know what we considered them, rhizomes, bulbs, or corms, or whatever it was, but it had one of them stuck in this little corner of cement. But it kept growing the first 2 years coming out of there. I was like, oh, so amazing. So I moved it, and like I said, now it's multiplied into like 40 different new ones I've got to go give away to people. But it's beautiful. It's just like that. But my neighbor, who grows in the alleyway as well too, he's got maybe about another 10 different varieties of those with different colors and all of bearded, and just this one he's got, which is really not much for like really dark, like the black looking flowers and stuff. They're interesting, you know, and it'd be kind of cool to maybe have a cool little segment of them and stuff. But this like black bearded iris he has is probably one of the most amazing, really amazing looking flowers. It's just deep, and it's got the same look like that and everything, but it's just dark and black and deep and intricate. Really cool too.
That sounds really cool. I love those odd looking things and shapes, and like really dark brown, like you said, or almost black looking wicked looking flowers are cool. Like those really exotic, I think orchids are very interesting too, because it has those very geometric shapes and like exaggerated shapes, like and color. Very cool.
Right on, Wendy. The time has just flown by. I'm just looking at the clock going, oh my gosh, wait a minute. We gotta get going today, because we're just talking with you. Anytime it's just so fun. We can hang and talk and about gardening and growing all day and all of that sort of stuff. But we do got to get moving on with our days today. And again, Wendy, thank you so much for coming back and hanging out with us. It's always great to have you.
Fun to catch up.
Yeah. I know we're going to be rolling onto sometime down the road to our 200th episode.
Wow.
So we'll have to have you back for that one too. I can't believe that'll be coming up as well too. Just amazing.
There to celebrate your hundredths. Yeah.
But when we do 2 a week, I suppose it happens pretty fast.
Yeah.
You know, they come up pretty fast. But anyways,
Kudos
thank you again for taking your time to be with us, Wendy.
Thank you.
Like I said, it's always great to catch up with you. And didn't even get a chance to talk to you about the trip to the Baker Creek. We did touch on it for a minute there, but maybe next time we'll get on and talk about that or something.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. There's always next time. But Yeah, it's always a great trip out there. Everyone's so lovely, and
Yeah,
the
I gotta
place,
make it
the
soon.
garden's amazing. Yeah, the food is great.
The whole experience, right?
The whole experience. You got to come out there.
I do.
October.
I got.
Hopefully, anyone can make it out there,
Yeah.
because the Heirloom
I
Expo
know
is,
that's a bummer.
fortunately, yeah, a big bummer this year. Hopefully, they'll bring it back
Mhm.
soon. But yeah, so this year, I think they are going to be blending some of those activities with like their October Harvest Festival. I think that's what they usually call it in October.
Yeah.
So that would be fun
Okay.
because autumn is probably a very beautiful time of the year out there.
Oh, I bet.
I look
I bet
forward
it's
to
just
that.
really amazing.
Yeah.
Right on. Right
Yeah.
on. Excellent.
Well,
Excellent.
oh, I have a new video coming out later
Yeah.
on, about 5 o'clock Pacific time. So if you
Today?
guys are around, yeah,
Okay. Well,
I'd
there you
love for
go
you to
too.
tune in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So everybody make sure for sure we've got links in the description. I know Jay's probably put a link into
wherever
the
that is.
chat
I
as
don't
well
know
too.
where.
Is it down here? Is it over there? Is it wherever or however
It's
you're
on my channel.
watching? It's somewhere
It's in
attached to
Wendiland.
this video right now, but you'll find a link to Wendy's channel and go over there and subscribe. Check out her recent videos and like I said, some really great content coming out over there. Plus, got a new one coming out today, so keep an eye out for that. And again, Wendy, so awesome to have you here, and we always look forward to having you back. We'll see you next time.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Enoch.
You got
Thank you, everyone. Thanks,
absolutely.
David, for all your awesome questions. Bye, Observe Nerd.
Yeah,
I'll see you guys on my channel.
that's right. Excellent. All right,
Bye.
bye-bye. All right, everybody. Another great show for you today. How about that? A fun, awesome conversation with Wendy there, talking all about all the things that she's got growing on there at Wendiland. So be sure to go and check out the link, like we said, right down below in the description of the video for you to go and check out her channel, and be sure to check out her new video coming out later today for sure. Right on. And again, too, thank you to Grant from the Gardening. Grant joined with us earlier for the Are You Following Me segment. Really great to catch up with Grant there and meet him and learn all about his channel and what he's got growing on. So again, like I said, definitely go and check out that link as well too. Go and give these guys some comments and let them know you saw them here today on the Let's Get Growing show. And yeah, again, another awesome show here today. And we've got some more great shows coming up for you next Saturday. Okay, next Saturday here, we're hoping it out. I'm going to try to hopefully find something maybe as a backup. Maybe this is kind of like, this is going to be an interesting, we've touched on trying to do some of this stuff before, catching people while they're out doing things or whatever, and it always comes with some surprises being a live show when it comes down to it. But next Saturday we're going to try something, because we've had this guest on a couple of times already, but we've done a pre-recorded interview with them. And that's because they're from Australia. We've done pre-recorded, and we usually do pre-recorded ones with Australia because it's really early in the morning for them to get up. We've had a couple to get up and come and join with us live. Marty and also Mark Valencia from Self Sufficient Me. He gets up nice and early and comes and hangs out with us. In fact, he'll be back on coming up here in just a few weeks as well too, so we can look forward to that coming up. But we've had our good friend Charlie McGee from the band Formidable Vegetable, and they write some really fun, really cool music about permaculture and gardening and growing food and the environment and all of that sort of stuff. Some really great stuff. But like I said, we usually pre-record the interview, and then then I'll play it for you all. But Formidable Vegetable, the band, right now is on tour. They're on tour in Europe right now. They just got done doing Glastonbury Festival out of the UK and a bunch of other really cool like festivals and shows. They've going to other places. I think this next week they're going to be in Spain. So they're doing all sorts, a whole European tour they're on right now. So hopefully what we're going to do is catch them live, get them live on the show while they're over in Spain next Saturday, and hopefully get to talk with them live here on the show. So that's going to be really fun. A real fun kind of experiment, I guess, for us to catch up with them. They'll be over in Europe versus Australia, but hopefully maybe even get some of the other folks there. Maybe it won't be just Charlie. Not too sure. We're working on it still. We're still trying to maybe figure out the logistics, but it's just kind of one of those fun opportunities. I thought when I saw that they were on tour in Europe, I was like, hey, if we can make this work out, that would be some real fun. So hopefully we'll be able to do that and get that done and make sure we could get them on with us live. So that would be really great. And then of course, next Sunday for our Sunday edition of the show, next Sunday is the second Sunday of the month. And you know what that means. We kind of touched on this just a little bit earlier as I saw that maybe Gardner Scott might be a guest over on Emmanuel's Ultimate Gardener channel as well too. But Gardner Scott comes and joins with us every second Sunday of the month for our Ask Gardner Scott Sunday conversation, where you can bring all of your gardening questions, all of those sort of things that you're dealing with in your garden, all the things that you need to know about what's going on or growing on with the different things that you've got growing in your garden spaces. You bring those questions next Sunday, and Gardner Scott, he can answer most all of them. You know, if he can't, he'll let you know, and we'll figure out a way to get you to that information that you need to know anyways. But it's always a great time hanging out with Gardner Scott. You won't want to miss that conversation on next Sunday's show as well, for the Sunday edition of our show. And again too, coming up the week after that as well too, it's our monthly gardening book club with our good friend and co-host Mr. MBC Mark Lachey Colbert will be joining with us live for the Sunday after next. And our featured book this month that we've been featuring is Cool Season Gardener by Bill Thorness. So we'll be reviewing Cool Season Gardener, Extend the Harvest, Plan Ahead, and Grow Vegetables Year-Round with author Bill Thorness and our co-host Mr. MBC on the third Sunday of the month, coming up Sunday after next, right here on the Urban Gardener channel. So you won't want to miss that out on that. And again too, we'll be announcing our next month's featured book, so you'll want to watch that and check that out, and then stay for the end of the show too, so you can learn about who our next featured book is going to be, so you can get yourself a copy and join us for that conversation as well too. Right on, everybody. Such a great show today. Again, thank you to our guests here. And before we head out, thank you, everybody. And if you can, just at the beginning, let's click that like button before we head out. Click the thumbs up, as well as subscribe to the channel, bell notification to be notified of all of our upcoming videos, and go check out the recent garden journal that I just put out. I just put out a new garden journal just yesterday, and showing our garlic harvest and talking about some other things growing on in the garden. Be sure to share with all of your friends too. Let them know about the Let's Get Growing show. And also too, I do want to mention, what else was it? I know there was something else I wanted to mention to you guys as well before we head out. Oh yes, a couple of things real quick. And I knew I mentioned this earlier, and Jay put this in the chat earlier too, so I want to highlight this as well. I'll be a guest. I mentioned Gardner Scott will be a guest on Manuel Arce's The Ultimate Gardener channel. I'll be a guest as well too on Wednesday, July 23rd. I'll tell you a little bit more. We'll talk about that as we get closer to that date. So I did want to make sure you guys go check out Manuel's channel. Go check out Gardner Scott and all the different cool, fun interviews he has there. And then you can check out my guest appearance on his channel as well too later on. And then one thing I want to talk about just before we leave, because I saw this earlier, Serena was asking about this, and she was saying that I forgot to turn on captions. We did turn on the captions last week. I wanted to check and try again after we tried doing them a couple of times several weeks before. And I just want to be kind of say that I apologize, Serena. And I apologize to folks who need captions. The one thing that I can recommend for those who do need captions is to look for a browser extension or a browser app or something like that that you can attach to your browser that you watch videos. And they have those sort of things that will provide captions for all of the YouTube videos, whether you're watching YouTube or anywhere else, any videos, anything that you're getting, that sort of stuff. They have browser extensions that you can get to get captioning. I really apologize because ultimately YouTube, when I select to attach captions to our live stream, what ends up happening is we get this really long latency issue. And that means that there's basically, you know, like with most other like live radio shows or other things like that, they have a little like you know, few seconds that they'll have to kind of, just in case like someone says something and they got to cut it or drop it or something, you got a few second little gap in there. But when you put the captions on for YouTube, that makes that gap a lot longer. I mean, we're talking into, I think I was looking at some points 20, 30 seconds of latency difference between when I'm here in the putting the show going through our program we use for our show. So I think it's a bit of both. I think it's a bit of YouTube and our program that makes that latency issue it's just too long. The comments and the different things between when I'm seeing them, when it's doing stuff, is causing other kind of complications, more so than the complications I'm already dealing with when it comes down to it. So turning that captions things on means I have to turn on this other latency thing for YouTube, which then creates an even bigger problem with StreamYard when it comes down to it. So doing captions on that type of level is something that I just, as far as the running the show and making the show run the best it can, I just can't do that from that end. But I can recommend, and we can look for some browser extensions depending on types of browsers you're using for viewing on the internet. You know, you might have an Explorer or a Google browser or different types of browsers. There's several different ones out there, and there might be some certain extensions you can use to get captions for that stuff. So again, just want to make sure I mentioned that. I completely apologize for anybody who needs captions and that sort of stuff, that those sort of issues happen. I wish it wasn't that way. You wish with technology the way it is today that they could get that figured out and get that tightened up and made a bit better. But that's just kind of the way things are for the situation that we have here. So again, Serena, I really do apologize, and I hope that we can help you figure out a way to get one of those browser extensions. Right on, everybody. Again, thank you all so much for being here and hanging out with us and all of that for today. And I hope that you're all having a great time in your gardens and all of that. Let's see here. Oh, South Florida is like, I have enough delays on my lives. Yeah, I know. The delay, it was just so, it was hard to follow along. And then there were some issues with the way it was putting it through. And I just know that it was all a problem with how YouTube does its thing with the other stuff like that and stuff too. So, right on. Let's see here. Serena, closed caption, dual subtitle viewer, a few other extensions on Chrome. Yeah, you might have Chrome. If you're using that, we can find extensions and that sort of stuff. But hopefully we can find something. Anybody who knows that sort of stuff is well too. If you're watching on the replay or anything like that, or maybe you're watching now, maybe you can go back onto the replay and drop something into the comments section for me. If you might know, maybe you can drop a link or something, I don't know, or anything like that, or a way we can find an extension or a good extension you might know or something that might work. We could drop that into that too. We can maybe help Serena find something, because it really is helpful to her, and I know others out there as well too, to have those captions when it comes down to it. All right, everybody, again, thank you so much for being here, and we'll have another great show for you coming up again. Like I said, tomorrow we've got our good friend Dr. Jeff for his first Dr. Jeff segment tomorrow, so you won't want to miss out on that too. I'm glad I remembered to mention that too. We got to promote the very next show. We got a Sunday edition of the show as well too, but this is going to be fun. And again too, kind of, extending on some of the conversations we've already had with Dr. Jeff. And we also had recently on the Sunday edition too, we had that round table with Derek, who's a PhD in horticultural therapy. And we talked about horticultural therapy and all that sort of stuff. So kind of maybe a little more extension on, gardening and health. We're talking about gardening as medicine with Dr. Jeff on the show tomorrow. So look forward to that, everybody. I look forward to seeing all of you then. And definitely before you head out, follow all the links below to all of our guests and all of our social media there. Thank you, everybody. I got to make sure I'm getting everything and all that sort of stuff set up right. But nice little slow ending to the show today. Everybody, thank you so much for being here. I'll see all of you tomorrow for the Sunday edition. We'll see all of you then.